Hi everyone! This is the first episode of JDP Clips. Today we will talk about the case study about Adidas.
So for now, I will be the one talking about the summary of the case, or basically with the part of the case study, the history. So if you see the picture on the right, you'll see that there is a logo called Dassler, and that was the store that the two brothers had before. But then for Adidas itself, it was established in 1949, and where it was Adidasler Adidas Porsche Fabric in Herzogenaurach, Germany. So the idea of Adidas was that it was only for the best, only the best for the athlete. And this is the time when Adolf and Adidasler were making shoes for athletes. Around 1970s, that's when they started to introduce sports apparel and leisure apparel. But during this time, Nike and Reebok entered the competition. Adidas tried to focus on their apparel, which led to financial losses. And at some point in time, Adidas and his son sadly passed away. Around 1990, the daughter of Adidas sold some shares of Adidas, which, and then 2 years after, Adidas almost went bankrupt, which brought in the new up CEO, Robert Louis Dreyfus, who changed the mindset of Adidas by rediscovering and strengthening their brand identity. He decided to change its company goals from sales driven to marketing driven. Soon after, Herbert Hainer tried to follow in his lead and was a CEO for 15 long years. He acquired Reebok in 2005. He increased marketing opportunities by focusing on celebrity and athlete endorsements. He achieved meaningful milestones like sponsoring the Olympic Games and FIFA World Cup. And he even sextupled the company's net income from 3 billion euros to 18 billion euros. Next slide.
For this segment, we will be tackling the retail industry and how it has been affected and transformed by digital disruption. The retailing industry has been central to our economies for a very long time. There are many forms of retail, but the one that is most predominant and known to consumers is the physical station retailing. They reduce the customer's need to consider logistics and operational costs in order to procure products. Traditionally, the retail value chain consists of three parts: the manufacturer, the retailer, and the customer. This structure delegates the customers to a passive role, merely being the recipients of information, price, and the product itself. However, the rise of internet-based retailing has transformed the retailing market in the past few years, creating a wave of digital disruption that enables new strategies to be used. The modern value chain has moved away from the traditional three-part structure and has moved towards a structure that's open for each constituent in the value chain to engage directly with one another. The paradigm shift in how manufacturers and consumers interact with one another is what creates value in this digital disruption. New technologies, such as the advancements in Internet of Things or IoT, open the possibility for manufacturers and retailers to create interactive products. Manufacturers are able to proactively engage with customers' needs while also being able to incentivize purchases and absorbing them into their product or brand ecosystem. One such example is Samsung, an electronics company. They are now participants in the sales of detergents after retailing smart washing machines. These washing machines are designed to automatically order detergent once it runs out or after passing a set amount of washing cycles. Digital disruption has also put data at the forefront of retailing. Manufacturers now push for more comprehensive data on their consumers and their preferences in order to strategically target customers who are more likely to consume their products. Despite the more active role that the consumers now play in digital retailing, the importance of data has also increased the authority that manufacturers and online retailers have over customers. Companies such as Amazon are able to use data to specialize advertisements and suggest items that may not even be under a customer's current consideration and pull them into buying it. The main threat to physical retailers are the online platforms that have sprung up. These play the role of digital intermediaries that efficiently link manufacturers or sellers to consumers while creating a digital ecosystem that facilitates exchanging of goods and services. One only needs to look at the most valuable companies in the world to see how much impact these platforms have over society. Most online platform based companies, such as Alibaba, eBay, and Amazon, now belong in the list and have skyrocketed in growth during the pandemic. However, in order for disruptive technologies to succeed in the first place, they have to rely heavily on customer behavior and their readiness towards that change. One of the reasons why digital retailing skyrocketed recently was due to a trend that was amplified heavily by the COVID-19 pandemic: the comfort of home. Modern society that is surrounded by the convenience of multiple technological advancements lends itself into a life that emphasizes safety and comfort, both of which are found in our homes. One of the biggest issues of digital disruption is being able to differentiate between those that benefit from a digital environment and those who cannot. However, the pandemic essentially forced everyone into adapting into a digital landscape, further increasing our disposition towards digital convenience. Digital disruption for retailing will continue, but perhaps the second wave of digital disruption will no longer be about trying to compete with online retailers and sharing the market, but rather being able to find ways to integrate online retailing to enhance physical retailing experience.
Now we'll talk about Michael Porter's value chain and what has Adidas done to change their activities and contribute to its overall competitiveness. So, like mentioned earlier, the main change that they did was in their marketing and sales activities. So, the change from sales driven to marketing driven. So, with the focus of celebrity and athlete endorsements like Kanye West and Lionel Messi, and even major sporting events like mentioned earlier, they were able to really market their brand identity throughout the whole world, which, like I said earlier, ended up sextupling their net income. However, for the other two changes, one of them being the change in operations activities. So they have been doing this, creating the new project ever since 2015. And the idea of this project was to add focus to their digital platforms, like their website and the mobile application. But the main thing was to increase business operations in six key cities: London, Los Angeles, New York, Paris, Shanghai, and Tokyo. They believe that these six cities were where the consumers were living. So, due to their higher population, they believe that uh, dominating these six cities would help in their growth. And because of that, they also wanted to grow in the North American sports apparel industry. Adidas is number one in Europe. However, in North America, it's more Nike. So they wanted to try to infiltrate that market in order for them to beat their biggest competitor. And at, uh, throughout recent years, they are trying to become more sustainable by almost, if not eradicating, their plastic usage in their stores, and overall just increasing their efficiency in global operations. Lastly, they have a change in technology development activities. So for their website and application, they have been using Reactor, artificial intelligence, and Salesforce technology behind improving their digital platforms. So they have done a lot, such as managing high traffic times in their website, decreasing the page load time of their website, incentivizing the use of the app when visiting physical stores by allowing you to book appointments, to pay for products, to ask for staff help, and etc. They even bought the Runtastic fitness application and partnered with Zalando from Paris to increase their global delivery efficiency. Lastly, they introduced the Adidas X Parley collection, which allowed them to use recycled ocean plastic to create their shoes. In 2019, they made roughly 11 million pairs of shoes made out of the recycled ocean plastic. And they even introduced the Adidas Future Craft, which they incorporated 3D printing into their shoes and even used liquid 3D printing in Reebok as well, not just in Adidas. Next slide, please.
In this pandemic, people are asked to follow social distancing. Some businesses suffer from losses, yet some businesses, specifically internet-based businesses, thrive. There's also an extreme increase in the usage of social media and the internet. In the retail industry, consumers learn to adapt quickly and improvise on how to deal with government protocols. Their pent up demand contributes to their significant rebound in buying products. Not only that, but the reality of the pandemic also put them in the mood of buying. Their old habits inevitably return bit by bit, yet some parts of their old habits die out because of the new normal. This leads to a spike in business to consumer sales and business to business e commerce. Today, companies are learning to adapt their production processes with the consideration of their employees' health. Because of the lockdown, the only way to sell products is through online platforms. According to Shivunga and Tempest, the growth of online platforms has led to an increasing number of both established bricks and mortar retailers and new entrants using e-commerce. However, once this pandemic ends, it will be difficult for Adidas to change its infrastructure once again, since its digital presence enables consumers to be continuously in touch with them and their products. Hence, it is harder to go back and prioritize brick and mortar stores in the post COVID 19 world. More importantly, it turns out that even in the pre pandemic world, there's always been a decline in sales for brick and mortar stores since there has been a decreasing number of customers in malls as e-commerce became the preferred way to shop.
Now we will talk about COVID-19 and the global value chain. So Adidas, along with most companies with large production queues, such as technology, clothing, and appliance companies, they rely on the leading members of the so-called Factory Asia, which include China, Japan, Korea, and etc., which all have been affected by the deglobalization of manufacturing. As China and Asia continues to grow its manufacturing industry, everyone else also becomes more reliant on them. And looking at how the COVID-19 pandemic affected world GDP growth, a lot of nations are projected to have negative growth. According to an article from Vox EU, a so-called chain contagion happens throughout all nations, where the amount of production heavily decreases in countries with higher amounts of COVID cases. The article also studies how different nations' supply chains are related to one another in terms of imports and exports, and shows how reliant most productions are on a handful of countries, such as China, India, and the US. While some studies argue that a more global manufacturing boom has been happening, building a factory world, we can see that Asian manufacturing markets have been dominating the value chain due to their high amount of workforce as well as low costs, with most raw materials coming from the adjacent areas. With these, the Adidas should consider globalizing their supply chain more through the use of other manufacturing areas and methods as a backup for when other supply chains crash. Even though product quality might not be affected too much, as most big brands go through several quality checks before their products hit the shelves, product quantity is a big factor, also considering the shift in the amount of production for items that are considered essentials in the quarantined society. Items such as tissue paper, medical face masks, and other medical components can increase the demand for raw materials. Aside from economics, there are also implications of an audience that cares about factory conditions and humane production methods from companies, which as a global brand, Adidas should worry about. In line with this theme, sustainability efforts are always welcomed by the community as consumers continue to put importance on where the items they buy are sourced from. One thing that is currently helping Adidas as a digital strategy is through the use of 3D printing. 3D printing technology has slowly been getting better over the past few years and in the future may also become a large-scale manufacturing method for companies considering their price, flexibility, and durability. Through these means, Adidas can continue to adapt to the post-COVID market, and the company's value chain can continue to operate without having to jeopardize product quality, quantity, and cost.
So, which strategic initiatives should Rorsted prioritize to future-proof the company? So, the pandemic has changed the retail industry drastically. So, here are some data to showcase how it changed the retail industry. So in-store shopping has decreased. So around 46% of American consumers are still uncomfortable to buy in a physical store. And retail giants who rely on physical stores are filing for bankruptcy, such as JCPenney, Brooks Brothers, and J. Crew. Meanwhile, online shopping has increased. Contactless payment and online shopping has increased by 122% in America and 116% in the UK, as reported by Shopify, a multinational e commerce company that houses 1.7 million online merchants. And lastly, consumer habits have changed drastically. Sales of fashionable items such as shirts and tops had fallen 374% in the UK, and sales of swimwear have fallen 76%. And homeware has become a trend because of stay at home protocols, safety measures, and quarantines. So, what strategies can Rorsted prioritize? So, first off, Rorsted can focus on two retail models to future proof Adidas, purely internet based and web rooming. With countries having lockdowns that prevent people from coming to physical stores, in store shopping will remain unprofitable in the midst of the pandemic and will still be affected in a post pandemic world. Given the consumer's ease of buying online, this predicated a world in which buying online is considered a norm and a much convenient alternative. Adidas now has to focus on e commerce and establish a strong digital presence to catch the consumer's eyes. And for my second point, Rorsted can focus on digital marketing. Given the rise of social commerce, 84% of consumers look at a company's social media account before purchasing. Around 30% of consumers purchase directly in social media, and 50% of millennials shop through social media. It is no surprise that social media has a big impact on consumption, especially with the rise of online shopping. Rorsted can focus on establishing the company's social media presence by having strong brand posts. For my third point, Rorsted can partner with social media influencers. Social media influencers play a big role in social media shopping. Social media influencers have a community and audience engagement that the company can better reach by partnering with these social media influencers. Micro influencers play a huge role in social media consumption too, despite having less followers than their famous counterparts that have millions of followers. This is because micro influencers have strong engagement with their audience and can directly influence them with their endorsements. Fourthly, Rorsted can improve clothing and apparel catalog to cater to the new normal of stay at home culture. As discussed previously, the need for swimwear, fashionable items, and professional attires have plummeted because of this shift in culture that caters to a stay at home society because of the pandemic. Adidas should consider the consumption patterns of its audience and strengthen its apparel that caters to this lifestyle. Gyms, going out, and social events are banned, and this can have a negative impact on Adidas as a sports apparel and that caters to sports and fitness enthusiasts. Adidas can promote an active indoor lifestyle with its apparel being used as homeware and sportswear as well. And lastly, Rorsted should focus on strengthening Adidas's digital infrastructure to support a large-scale consumption of their products. As stated by Rorsted himself, digital acceleration is indeed a promising strategy, and its ability to produce strong volumes and its ability to handle this will determine Adidas's success as well. Adidas should have a scaling strategy that prepares them for handling global consumption and logistics in an ever-increasing online shopping culture. It should look at its successful online business giants such as Amazon and get ideas on how its online supply chain is conducted. So, Adidas in the post-pandemic world. Adidas has had the right mindset of investing its online and digital infrastructure early on, and this mindset is still needed amidst the pandemic and post-pandemic. While we do not believe that all of its physical stores should entirely shut down and Adidas should move entirely towards online, we think Adidas should just maintain a handful of flagship stores throughout the globe. While these might not earn in the meantime due to the pandemic, having a physical symbol of the company is still important, and maybe one day people will be able to buy in physical stores normally. But as of right now, this drastic shift in online consumption is the norm, and Adidas should focus on this for the company to survive amidst the pandemic. Post-pandemic consumption patterns will still have lingering effects of the pandemic's impact on it. So investing in Adidas's digital infrastructure is the right call. After all, this has been an inevitable trend before the pandemic as well. COVID-19 just accelerated it drastically because it became a need.
This is JDP Co saying goodbye, and thank you for listening to JDP Clips.
Ha ha ha.
That